Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us. We're hoping that this is going to be an informative and interactive session for you on the subject of creativity and leading for creativity. And that really leads us on to a fundamental bedrock, actually, of everything that we're talking about, is about trust. And there's a lot of research done talking at the beginning about the environment that leaders create and what's required for successful business, in particular looking through the lens of creativity. Trust is the number one factor that will determine whether a company and a team leader, a team or a group within a team, within an organization, or the organization itself is going to manifest in creative ideas. And there are many, many reasons for this, but you may have seen Amy Edmondson's work on psychological safety, and I came across this this piece of work which she worked with Google on about 3 years ago now. And Google, obviously, I mean, phenomenally successful business. They are continually striving, and I think this is another tenet of leaders in the way that we live now, is continually striving to learn and to grow. And so they looked at, whilst they were doing it well, they wanted to say, how can we do this better in the future? So they did a big study, 2-year study, looking at what are the factors that influence high team performance and the most successful teams. And what they found was this thing around this phrase called that Amy coined, psychological safety. And the difference between your team feeling like they may be in psychological danger, which sounds extreme, but just the whole idea that maybe they would be fearful of admitting mistakes. There's a blame culture. It means they're less likely to share their views. And then they all kind of get into this homogenous, we all agree with each other, comfortable clone thing, because that's a lot easier than challenging the status quo. But clearly that is not good for creativity. It's not good for innovation. It's not good. It's a factor that's going to influence whether your company has ideas and innovation that move or whether they flow. So the opposite of that is obviously psychological safety, which is about being comfortable to admit to your mistakes, learning from failure, being open, and then making better decisions, and that being more of an open process and a collaborative process. So this is really fundamental, whatever team you're working in. And if you're trying to drive groundbreaking ideas like we're talking about, you've got to have this underlying trust that allows people to even articulate what it is they're thinking or feeling, or it's not going to happen. So there's lots of, as in terms of diving deeper into this, if you have come across it, or if you want to read more about it, there is the entire Google report on psychological safety, which they made open source. It's really interesting. And there are interesting articles in Forbes and Harvard Business Review on psychological safety. I think, these are 3 questions, again, these are around trust, which are useful reflections if you're working with a team and thinking about, I want them to come up with more breakthrough ideas. I want them to push the envelope. I want them to challenge the status quo. I'd like them to. How can I help them do that? Is there anywhere where a lack of trust is impacting, your or their creativity? And Elise, you're going to talk a little bit, aren't you, about risk taking here and what it needs, what it takes to take risks.
Yeah. And Emerald, I see your question in the chat box that psychological safety, I think the earliest that I had seen Amy Edmondson's work, I think she has a TED Talk that came out in 2006. Claire, I think, is about right. It's a little over 2 years old, so it's not a current term. But I do think people are more thoughtful about it. The idea of being a holistic leader, to earlier about creating the environment, is so huge. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You have to create trust to be effective as a leader. There's no way people on your team are going to take risk and put themselves out there to try new and different things, or even to bring up new and different ideas, if they're afraid. And that's the whole idea, of course, behind psychological safety, which I think is huge.
I love to quote Jay-Z when you say you could have been anywhere today and you were here with us. So thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.